This week will go down as one of the craziest in our country's history with regards to the conspiracy around the Epstein files. 20,000+ emails have been released. There are former presidents, current presidents. There are spiritual leaders. There are other leaders of different countries involved. We don't know to which extent. But Candace Owens, who has become the biggest podcaster of the conservative movement, is now claiming that they are blackmailing President Donald Trump in broad daylight. I'll share her tweet, her proof, and all of the proof that that's not true. There's a lot of pushback here, but we'll share all of that and more about this crazy, crazy story going on. Do me a solid, hit the subscribe button if you appreciate our coverage. So Candace yesterday covered why she's no longer a part or believes in the MAGA movement. Specifically, she ties together what was going on with Charlie Kirk, his unfortunate demise as he was murdered in cold blood, and getting to the truth of that, and ties it to the Epstein files in the release. Now, I will have to be clear about these Epstein emails that have come out. There's a lot of people saying, well, how come Biden didn't release the emails? Well, when we have to remind people, the Epstein investigation was ongoing. It wasn't until Pam Bondi said that the investigation's over, no new charges, that then people were very upset, people including Candace Owens. She feels betrayed by Donald Trump, by his attack on free speech and other things. There's plenty that I can agree with Candace on. There's plenty I can disagree with her on. But I think what's really important is to know that she's the center of the conversation in conservative media, whether other people like it or not. She's getting insane numbers online. Our coverage, our honest sort of commentary around Candace Owens is featured all over Google, which just goes to show whether it's grassroots or whether it's tech pushed, people are getting the conversation around Candace. I believe it's grassroots. I believe Candace has been a voice for people that don't believe the system is speaking for them. Seeing the Tyler Robinson, the lone gunman that's accused of murdering Charlie Kirk. People don't believe the Department of Justice. They don't believe that they're either competent or that they're telling us the truth. And I don't blame people for those opinions. But let's listen to what Candace has to say about how she feels not only that the Epstein email list coming out is manufactured, but how it's meant to blackmail, Trump.
What exactly, which I'm going to get into in more detail tomorrow, the Trump administration seems to have been hiding these emails. They're not good. Okay, they are completely indefensible, but I already told you, I was done with MAGA at the moment he looked us in the face and he said, what files, right? What are we still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? Pam Bondi said it was a Democrat hoax. No, I think the entire nation has been hoaxed by Republicans and Democrats, and there are pervert elites that sit at the top. That's my suspicion. We'll take a quick break.
So she alleges that Trump was hiding these emails. As far as I know, the information I have is that these emails came out from the Epstein estate because the Oversight Committee subpoenaed for them. What happened was there was actually one of the lawyers for the Epstein estate was being interviewed, I believe on MSNBC, and said, hey, if you want to know more, you should subpoena them. I think that was their way of saying, we'll share more with you. No one's even looking over here. So I don't think all of these emails that are coming out now were necessarily available before. What is interesting, there are emails from a New York Times reporter that went through the New York Times server that would have existed. Now, how come those didn't come out before? The general belief has been that the Epstein conspiracy is so dark and affects so many different people that neither side wanted it out, which I can kind of get behind that. But I'll say this, regardless of why didn't Biden release it? How come Trump hasn't released it? Regardless of all of that muck, we need this all released. You couldn't even get, I think, 5 Republicans to come forward, right? Nancy Mace. You had Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie, who's a libertarian. I guess he counts as a Republican, and Lauren Boebert. Those are the only Republicans that joined the majority of Democrats that wanted to put a vote to make this happen. Now that it's inevitable, you're going to get hundreds of Republicans come out. Why? Because everyone's spineless in politics. They go with whichever way the wind is blowing, and the wind is blowing away from the MAGA MAGA movement. So Candace goes and just shares right here why she believes the movement is dead to her. She goes into a little more specifics. Have a listen.
Candace. Christian Zionism is heretical. I don't know what they are protecting, but if you don't see that it has gone masked down, the people who won't even speak about Bibi Netanyahu's crimes against humanity, he's being tried for crimes against humanity, all somehow have the energy to come for Candace Owens, right? To come for Candace Owens and to try to paint her as a crazy person because she had a dream. And I'm sticking with the dream. I'm sticking with the dream. Charlie was betrayed. He continues to be betrayed every single day, including by these same Christian Zionists that he platformed throughout his entire career, who apparently don't have a single question about any of the BS that we've heard. I also want to say to you guys, I know that I promised you we would discuss the Egyptian planes.
So Egyptian planes, Charlie, it's a lot. For those that aren't caught up, it does feel like a lot. What are we talking about? Egyptian planes? Yeah, they were flying around Utah before Charlie's death, unmarked. Oh my gosh, so many different things. Hold on. Let's just calm down a second. So multiple things can be true. Yes. The prime minister of Israel has been, or I believe, charged with war crimes. Through the international whatever, like that does exist. And yet, yes, our country still funds Israel. You can be against the state of Israel and not be against the Jewish people or Israelis, the population, right? There's plenty of people within the Israeli world that are against the government. Just like here, there's plenty of people that are against our bombing of, Venezuelan boats and all of the lacks of due process that we have going on. So that can all exist. But what's interesting is Candace, she walks a very delicate tightrope where she doesn't push away her audience from like their support of Trump, because I would have to say, my guess, 80% of Candace Owens' audience are either Republican or support or voted for the president. That's just my guess. Maybe it's a little bit less, but I would say it's overwhelming. Now, don't get me wrong. There's plenty of left-leaning progressive folks like myself that also find this very interesting, but I'm going to share several clips of Candace just throughout this year alone where she saw the writing on the wall that she is not part of this MAGA movement. Have a listen.
Are you done with Donald Trump, or could you see a way that you would end up perhaps voting for him? Oh, yeah, he can't run again, obviously.
And by the way, this is back from the spring. So this is way before Charlie Kirk and all the other Epstein drips and everything else.
Would you support him publicly again?
So I want to be clear. I don't regret voting for Donald Trump above Kamala. I think he was the better candidate. Certainly a better candidate above Joe Biden. But what I will say is that he's been a chronic disappointment. And I feel embarrassed that I told people to go vote for him because this wasn't going to happen and it is happening.
So she says, I don't regret voting for him, but I feel embarrassed that I told people to go vote for him. Now, you could look at his first term as a sample size of what you were going to get. I think the pandemic really threw a wrench into that. And I also think the economy was really good coming off of Obama, that Trump had a really decent economy in the first term. He wasn't doing all this crazy tariff stuff. How's the economy now? Stock market's high, but most of the country isn't invested in the stock market. Most people are worried about paying, what they can to get groceries. Most people's health insurance is skyrocketing with their getting rid of the subsidies and all of that. So there's a lot of issues going on, and Candace is not afraid to say, look, I'm done with it. Here she was back in April, saying, look, where's the pro First Amendment, freedom of speech Trump that he campaigned on?
I would see a day where I would be rooting for a university above Donald J. Trump and his administration. But I don't recognize his administration right now. I don't recognize what's happening. I have a theory. I do. We were kicking around some theories earlier, me and the team, and we were going, how could Trump be such a free speech enthusiast and allowing these things to happen? Going after college universities, trying to suppress speech while pretending that you're not suppressing speech, while pretending that you're fighting DEI. It's so messy. It's so obvious. Everyone knows what you're doing. People who are still trying to grift, I suppose, are not willing to challenge you on this, which is ridiculous, because when you are out of office, we are going to have to live with these consequences. Our children.
So there it is. So this was 7 months ago. So Candace Owens understands the hypocrisy from Trump, and because of that, the MAGA movement, which is you had this whole movement that was against the woke left, this whole movement that was against cancel culture and all these other things. And yet you've got Trump trying to cancel universities, trying to use any amount of funding he can. I mean, he's trying to cancel New York City And by that, I mean he's trying to stop providing federal funding because they were going to elect what he calls a communist mayor. You know, you've got people that are in the MAGA movement high up. My own representative here wanted to deport Zohran Mamdani. You know, so you see all of these crazy things, and it's like, well, you're not for the First Amendment if you're not giving people due process, giving people the right to legally go through the system before you deport them. Those are all of the checks and balances that we have. You don't get to be on the street and pull someone off the street with a mask on and then claim that they're a bad guy, they're a narco terrorist, they're MS-13 because they have a Chicago Bulls tattoo, and not give them a fair chance to respond in court. Do you guys remember Trump, his literal head of his Department of Justice, claimed that Obama committed treason, and then nothing happened after that. If you're going to claim a president committed treason, you have to be willing and ready to charge them. And one of the highest penalty for that is death, right? So for him to do all of this to silence his critics, that's not someone who supports free speech. Versus, say what you want about Joe Biden, he was doing town halls with people in MAGA that were literally making fun of him, that were literally calling him Sleepy Joe, and he laughed and he gave it back to them. He wasn't, trying to deport them. What we're seeing from Stephen Miller, one of Trump's top staff, is that Stephen Miller's own wife was threatening to deport Cenk Uygur, who is the creator and the founder of the Young Turks, who is a naturalized citizen here because she disagreed with him. We saw that play out on the Piers Morgan show, where she literally was like, we're going to look into your papers and see if you've done everything right. Did you cross your T's and dot your I's? This is insane what they are trying to do. And for that, I champion people like Candace Owens. Now, I have completely different views than she does on her view on pro-life. I have completely different views on a lot of what she thinks about heterosexual marriage versus other. I have a lot of different views than her, but we can't have those views if we can't agree on the First Amendment and protect that and fight for like those simple things that make America what it really is. So there's this whole idea about making America great again, making America first, America only. And I disagree with a lot of the ways they go do that, because for me, the way to make America great, this term that they want to use, the way to do that is to really rise the global economy. Because a lot of what we do is consumed from other countries. And instead of doing this thing where we rise all of the ships, we have made it so that we're standing alone. Other countries are doing trade routes around us, and we're kind of considered an unreliable friend right now, which is a lonely place to be in the world of globalization. We no longer live in a world where we create all of the products. The rest of the world can do completely fine without us, which is a scary fact to realize in today's world. So I support Candace, and I'm glad she's willing to fight for that First Amendment. But everything she has to say, I don't co-opt. She says they're blackmailing President Donald Trump in broad daylight. The slow release of the emails is intentional. Now he will give them whatever they want. For those who struggle with context clues, they equals Israel, who Jeffrey Epstein worked for. It is irrefutable. Evidence has come out that Jeffrey Epstein did work with the Israeli government. That is absolute true. Drop site news did some exposés. They uncovered emails. That exists. But that's not what's going on with the Epstein files release, in my opinion. And a lot of people agree with me. Wait. Israel has the emails, or are these the emails from the files that the American government already had? And if only Israel had them, who are they releasing them to? Now, by all means, Trump might have been blackmailed by the Israeli government. He might have been blackmailed by the Russian government. Who the hell knows? If you ever travel overseas, don't trust that those hotel rooms aren't bugged. If any country can get an in through some sort of blackmail, obviously they would try that. Through the new Epstein files, there's actually more evidence that Trump was laundering money with Russian oligarchs through one of his properties, but that's actually old news. But that's in a lot of the emails that are coming out. But this idea that Israel was the only one who had this information, that's really not exactly what's going on. I want to share some of the some of the people that are kind of calling that out. Why would Representative Thomas Massie, a non-interventionist, libertarian-leaning conservative, team up with an outspoken pro-Palestinian Ro Khanna if this was part of a Zionist plot? You just say you are paid to demonize Jews and we'll understand it's business. I don't think Candace Owens is paid to demonize Jews. I do believe Candace Owens goes hard in the paint against the fact that we give a lot of money to Israel. And I think this point, though, makes a lot of sense. Ro Khanna is like really pro Palestine, which I think is a fair and safe place to be if you feel that that this genocide has taken place, which I believe it has. I believe a genocide is ongoing. Starvation has been used against people in Gaza throughout this war. Tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, have been injured and killed and buried beneath the rubble, innocent lives. And we have funded that. That's what I believe. Our country has funded up to like 40 or 50% of the military in Israel. Our money, our tax money, which we could very much use for the, different fixing of lead pipes and potholes and food stamps and all the other programs we could use in our country, has been used to give bombs to Israel. You can criticize them and not be anti-Semitic. I take that to the grave. But I don't believe that's what's going on with the Epstein files. So just a sort of a practice here where I can agree with Candace in that there's a lot that's being exposed, but disagree that the Israeli government is trickling this out as a way to blackmail Trump. I think this is coming out outside of the Israeli government. I think there's more at play than Epstein working for them. But again, this is my just opinion. There's 20,000 emails to go through, and this isn't even the release of the actual Epstein files. These are just the new emails. And these are the emails that the Epstein estate is giving out. So this doesn't mean they're giving everything out. Trump says, though, that he's asking Justice Department to investigate Epstein's ties to slew of high-profile figures. I mean, Trump wanted this thing to go away, right? When he was asked about it a few months ago, he was like, the Epstein files again, this is old news. And it's like, no, it's not. It's old news, it's new news, it's current news, and it's the biggest conspiracy of our lifetime that's being exposed. And it could get even darker than it already is. I mean, it's really exposing so much so many bogus takes. Megyn Kelly, well, they were only going after 15-year-olds, like just absolute insanity, right? Well, now Trump, too late to hide from it, saying, we're going to go after those in there. We're going to get all the Democrats. And it's like, well, what about you? You're mentioning it thousands of times. Here we have the conversation about not if Trump is in it, but how badly he is in it. And again, yet to be seen, but pretty common sentiment. Have a listen.
These files and the fullest truth that we have available to us is going to be made public. And it is clearly the biggest scandal in presidential history.
Fact.
And he wouldn't be acting this way if he wasn't so deeply worried about what sits in those files. What we've already seen is immensely incriminating.
I mean, just this morning, we covered the fact that Trump says he hasn't talked to Epstein in years. And then, evidence comes out of him drawing that thing for Epstein's birthday. And he goes, that's not me. And like every forensic expert's like, that's your email. That's your signature, right? And then Trump says, oh, I haven't. I kicked him out when I found out he was a creep. And then the emails show that Trump most likely spent Thanksgiving with him while Trump was president. It's like, at what point do people understand it's that he's in it?
Clearly, Donald Trump was at the center of a child sex ring. That is heartbreaking that the president of the United States was involved in that kind of gross, craven immorality. And it stands to reason that he wouldn't be fighting so hard to spin against this story or bullying Republicans in the House to prevent the release of these files if there wasn't something especially and specifically incriminating in that information. Now, I think the scandal in and of itself could bring him down, but we also do have to contextualize it, because what Donald Trump is all about is protecting the rich and powerful and stealing from normal people, regular middle class and poor folks, in order to enrich the rich and powerful. And this is very much part of that story. Yes, I am sure that there are both Republicans and Democrats named in those files. There are powerful people on both sides of the aisle. But what Trump is all about is, not really playing a game based on politics, but playing a game based on wealth and influence.
Now, you might say, yeah, there's wealthy people, Democrats and Republicans that are in it, both sides of the aisle. Fine. But just remember, all of the Democrats right now are voting to release the Epstein files. And now, while it's becoming politically convenient, Republicans are joining that party as well. Better late than never, I guess, but I won't forget who was there and who actually wanted this thing released. This is going to be a revolution of sorts. This is going to completely shape-shift the way our country is governed, I believe. And whoever runs for president next better bring this country together in a very populist way. Bring this country together in a way that makes the ultra-rich start paying their fair share, which I believe means increasing the taxes on the ultra-wealthy so we can get this middle class back to a rip-roaring place it deserves to be. I also believe it should lead to universal health care. I don't think we should live in a country where people will have to decide whether they can afford insurance or not, whether Timmy's gash in his head can be fixed with WebMD, or if they have to go to the hospital, and whether or not they can afford ER. I used to drive Uber. You know how many people I drove to the emergency room as an Uber driver because they knew it was cheaper than the $15,000 bill they would get having an ambulance come pick them up. It's an insane reality we live in. And I think we have to consistently remind people that we do have the money, the resources, and we have the consensus with all of Americans that we deserve better. We just need someone to unify us and fight for that. Truly drain the swamp Trump claimed he would drain. So Trump says the Democrats are using the Epstein hoax involving Democrats, not Republicans, to try and deflect from their disastrous shutdown and all of their other failures. I'll be asking Attorney General Pam Bondi in the Department of Justice, together with our great patriots at the FBI, to investigate Jeffrey Epstein's involvement in relationships with Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, Reid Hoffman, J.P. Morgan, Chase, and many other people and institutions to determine what was going on with them. This is another Russia scam, with all arrows pointing to the Democrats. Okay. Investigate it, sure. Do I have any faith that they're going to do a fair investigation? No, not at all. But luckily, the Epstein files are coming out whether Trump wants them to or not. Well, that's our update. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you like my commentary, if you think it's fair, then please consider giving me a subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment. Let me know where you're coming from. Lots of new people out there. We have been featured twice this week on Google's homepage, which has absolutely blown up our views. So we welcome all of the new folks out there. And thanks for joining the party. We'll have a lot more to get to. We are here twice a day, every day, your morning and your afternoon. So have a good weekend, everybody. Do something I wouldn't do and then some. And then we'll see you back here bright and early Monday morning. Until then, I'm Dave, and this is The Rush.